I don't know, was that your Christmas break?
The first potential redevelopment programs.
Will you go to the same place?
And the DDA.
But the maps that are.
It's an EDA area.
I'm sure.
I bet they have it in their resources.
We go down for a week somewhere. Usually at least one of our teams.
Remember when they were pushing that?
Nice.
Isn't
Hi,
there-
everyone online.
Hi, everybody. It is 6:01. Kathy, I'd like to continue this conversation. We just have a condensed meeting this evening, so we'll go ahead and kick it off. Mel, what's up?
Oh, just kind of people here.
I think we have a quorum
Yes, yeah.
and some guests. I'm very excited. Is that Rachel? Hi, Rachel. So I'll do a quick,
Yeah, hi guys.
call to order.
Actually, we don't have to do call to orders or adjournment. You can just get it started. That's what city clerk told me. So we no longer have to, yeah. They're like, you guys don't have to do
Do we do
that.
attendance in the roll call?
Yeah, roll call
Okay.
still, yes.
Let's start with roll call then. We'll go around the room clockwise and then we'll go online. Logan Dunning, present.
Mel Englund, present.
Matthew Schultz, present.
Joe Anderson, present.
Jessica Hall present.
Rick Emil Hines, present.
Mike Chisholm, present.
Kathleen Bailey, just a visitor, present.
Thanks for being here, Kathy. Online, if y'all will just popcorn it, please.
Susan McCray.
Rachel Pallier, present.
Hi,
Christine
Christine. I just wanted to see Susan McCray. Okay. Hi, Susan. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm glad you're here.
Thank
Like I
you.
said, condensed agenda tonight, so we can move through this pretty quickly. Let's do a quick approval of the minutes from November. Any questions, concerns, thoughts from our last meeting? I thought it was really productive. We missed you, Mel.
All right, I've missed you guys. I'm glad to be back.
We figured out the tech in the room without you somehow. No concerns, no comments, no questions. I'd entertain a motion to approve the November minutes. So moved by Michael. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Jessica. Approval of November minutes done. Let's dive into the agenda. And please, Mel, let me know if someone else joins us online. So we're going to start with a quick turf replacement program update. We heard from Jeremiah last month, and then he presented to council, I believe, last week.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing some great work. I'm proud of that guy. I hope he can continue to contribute to this commission and that conversation, but I'll pitch it to you for a quick update.
Great, so Jeremiah and I went to council on the 5th to give kind of a lot of Jeremiah's research, which he spent 4 months kind of diving into internally and externally, as you all know, into the turf replacement HB 221151 bill and some next steps for the city of Englewood. We did get a lot of positive feedback for our suggested short-term next steps. So we are moving forward with partnering with Resource Central in 2023 in their turf replacement program. And then also in their garden in a box, which has been something that a lot of people wanted to see. So really looking forward to doing that in 2023. Any questions or anything on that before we jump on?
Good to see Jeremiah. Tell him thank you again. He was, that was a great contribution.
Yeah, Jeremiah is
To our
the best.
agenda. And both of you did a wonderful job presenting to the city council, so thank you for doing that. Christine, I'm going to hand it over to you for an EV update on the action plan.
Sounds good. We met for the second EV action planning meeting out of 3, and this second meeting was focused on approving, I guess you'd call it a mission statement or vision for what we want it to be, and then approving the broad categories where we can have an impact, and those include things like public education and outreach, policies, where and how we should put in more public chargers, et cetera. And then within those categories, we worked on a ranking and voting exercise to prioritize which of those are immediate and which of those are more medium or long term. The third meeting out of 3 is being scheduled. And in the interim, they're also going to have some more stakeholder calls with building owners, with multifamily residents, et cetera. And that's it.
Efficient. I like it, Christine. Thank you. And once again, thanks for being our representative That's fantastic, and we're looking forward to hearing more from you after this third meeting. Any questions for Christine? Or about the program in general? Great, thank you, Christine, again. I'm gonna back to Mel. Let's discuss the Excel's Train the Trainer event that we have coming up next month. I'm genuinely looking forward to this, so thanks for facilitating it this far. You want to tell us where we're at and what to expect?
Yeah, so we have it confirmed with Excel for the next meeting on 12. Oh, sorry, that should say 110 for the Train the Trainer event on 110. It's going to be at 6:30 p.m. in the community room, which is right downstairs. They're going to come and really give a great overview of mainly residential energy efficiency. That's the targeted audience for this. They're going to have some free giveaways with like LED kits and solar charging banks and
Yes,
and potentially, but hopefully some free home energy assessments that people can take. And that if we do get them, that we would also get cards to give to people that we know if they want to do it too. So it's going to be pretty high level and pretty much on Excel, but we are hosting it as the Sustainability Commission. Logan's going to have some time in the beginning to kind of introduce the Sustainability Commission to folks. But I wanted to see if there was anything else that kind of high level things that anyone really wanted to see there or to make sure that I make note of. Yeah.
Is it open to everyone and the more the merrier?
Yeah, open to everyone. We're actually, so the LED kits, we're gonna say the first like 20 people to come gets the LED kits, because I think that's what they have. And the community room can hold a lot of people. So hopefully we get a ton of people to show up. And we're gonna try and push it out through Nextdoor and everything to get a good outing. But yes, anyone can come.
So we should promote it.
Yes, absolutely.
Christine?
I'm wondering if we can ask them to make sure to discuss heat pumps and heat pump water heaters as part of their residential energy efficiency and the rebates they have, since that seems like a new technology that a lot of people don't really know about or understand.
Yeah, I can definitely flag them and ask them to cover that.
How will this be promoted, the event? Through all of our mediums?
Well, I'm assuming, yes, I already put the work order in for a communication department, so they know about it, and they're crafting stuff, and I'm assuming it would go out to the typical stuff like Facebook and Instagram.
Is it unengaged?
I don't engage once we get stuff, I can definitely put it on the sustainability page too.
It's worth it.
Good point.
Could you put an email together that we could receive and then we can spread it on our network? Can you
Yeah.
do something like that?
That's great, great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? Cool. So yeah, I have a question. For the evening, we'll start at 6:30. Do we need to do any housekeeping or gaveling in as a commission, or how does that gonna work as a public forum
Yes.
since it is our January meeting?
Yeah, so I think, and this kind of flows in well with the next part too. Seeing if you all did want to meet at like 6 to have a mini meeting before that to approve
Mhm.
the memo, the potential memo to council. But then I think you would just, if you do that mini meeting, going into the mini meeting, and then the rest would just be kind of like an open community event,
Great,
but hosted by the Sustainability Commission.
right. So this Train the Trainer is hosted by us. I don't mind the idea. There is an action item I'd like to take on in January, and that's voting on this sustainability plan additions and edits. So is there any kickback from you all to have another early meeting next month to take a vote on this and a final discussion? Mike?
Two comments. First of all, I think it's terrific that our opinion is being sought, so I appreciate that. That's a big deal. I think we need, I know we need a process for communication. We can't just come to a meeting and digest something in 2 minutes and give feedback. We have to have some type of communication between now and next meeting so that we can digest something or come prepared to the next meeting to either pick up the conversation or move towards some decision or recommendation. We just have to invent it. It has not been invented yet. So I love the direction. I love the feedback from council, but I think we've got a challenge and we need help from you, Mel. I don't know, email exchanges, simple memos, bullet points, something I think has to go back and forth before we come to a meeting where we're supposed to do something.
Right, are you talking about the additions and edits for the plan to council, kind of like that process?
Yeah.
So I was gonna go over that. Is it okay
Yep.
if I?
Yeah, that's a
Great,
perfect
great.
tee up
So
for you-
I
for next point.
completely agree, and I want to make sure that people don't feel rushed, and I want to make sure that everyone feels heard and that they're represented. So here's kind of the process that Logan and I were sifting through. We do have a shortened meeting today, and I don't want that to stress people out if they don't get their comments in.
Because it did stress me out at first.
Yeah.
Then Mel laid out the plan and
So here's kind of what I'm doing to make sure that everyone feels adequately heard, is that we can spend this 20 minutes. People can bring up kind of what they're thinking as a group. And then if something's flagged where people don't agree with it, we can kind of assess that way. But then I'll draft up a memo from the brainstorm so no one has to do anything. But if you think of something, actually, I'll go to this slide. If you think of something, you know, tomorrow or something, you can send it to me by end of day, Tuesday, December 27th. That's 2 full weeks to kind of mull over things. And then I can really put together that draft memo of everyone's comments.
Nice.
And then on the meeting, if you all decide to do one on the 30th, I'm thinking it would probably just be a 30-minute meeting to only tackle this on itself. You all can look at that draft memo and then vote or disapprove on that memo. So that everyone gets adequate time.
I've got a question for Joe. When we're tasked to look at what is a fairly large document with multiple bullet points, I think we can agree that it's got a lot of heft to it. How much does council want us to sort of dissect, digest, rewrite? I mean, is this supposed to be just a sort of a review, a citizen review of this thing to make sure we're on track with it? What's your thinking on it?
I don't know. I guess I would tend to leave the basic structure the same, but if there's anything that would need to be added to it or removed from it, I think those would be the main areas.
Okay.
I would look at, you know, by the time we're gonna get it, you know, it'll go through a staff review and will come to us with some draft language too. So if you want to make additional edits, it's fine, but I don't know that, I think we've got a good starting point at this point. So I wouldn't reinvent the wheel, I guess, but
Okay.
be helpful. I think the main thing is looking at it and saying, are we really going to get to that? Do we want to take it off, or is this a bigger priority? Should we add something new on?
Mhm.
That's what I would kind of envision happening out of that.
I think the bones are there. And we really, I'll get into this in my year in review. You know, we spent 3 hours going through this back in February, right out of the gate. So I think we err on the side of inclusion, see what's accepted, what's not. But if we have changes that we want to see and we come to consensus to as a group, I think that's worth including. Right? I do. But keeping the foundation in place, you know, of how it is I think important. Because yes, Christine.
Can you remind me when the city council is having their council retreat where they might discuss more of these strategies in detail?
I believe it's the 21st of January.
That very well could be true. Yes, 21st.
And our meeting's on the 10th.
And so I'm hoping that that would be enough time for us to get something to them and in time for them to consider it.
Yes, because if you all approve it on the 10th, if there are any edits, I'll clean it up and then I'll send it over on the 11th.
Thumbs up. And I'll also touch on this. toward the end of my comments later, but this is an opportunity for process improvement. If this works for us, great. If not, if we need to figure out, streamline our internal processes as a commission, then let's do that. But for the purposes of the sustainability plan revisions tonight, let's provide some high-level feedback. What do we want to see change? We can get into as much detail as we want, time permitting. But then just know, taking away from tonight, that there is another opportunity to provide all of your comments and feedback to Mel, which she will then put into a memo for us to review before the January meeting. And that I believe that's a continuous communication. Once you send out that memo, we can send feedback again to Mel until we get a final product. We bring that to January, have a final discussion and vote. And then it's sent to council before their retreat for approval. That's the process over the next month. Any questions about that before we actually dive into details around the room? Cool.
I did want to go over some high level stuff that I know, I mean, staff still has a while to submit what they're going to say, but some that I do know, just so we are kind of recreating the wheel for conversation in case this is on someone's radar. I know there is going to be a pitch to move many or a handful of the water protection key projects from sustainability to infrastructure if they're more appropriate there. And I fully stand behind that. I think we have a lot of stuff in water protection that should be in infrastructure and it's more appropriate to be there. I know community development is going to pitch some kind of updated key project for economic development to be inclusive of all businesses, not just the ones on South Broadway. And then I know there was someone wanted to remove the revision demolition permits, including required containment plans for lead and asbestos contained properties, since this is controlled by the state and the EPA and not by local. So it didn't make the most sense to be in our plan.
Right.
Again, there's probably going to be a lot more, but this is just kind of the ones that I know of off the bat.
Thanks for kicking off this part of the agenda, Mel. Rick, let's just go around the room. And we can go down the line. If you don't have any feedback or edits, great. We're gonna keep moving. But Rick, you got your pen and paper out. I figured we just,
This doesn't work like you used to.
okay, fair enough. You're old school. You keep it written down. Well, we can just go around and then we'll go online. Hi, Cara. Cara, present. Let that be noted.
Hi, sorry for being late.
Oh, you're fine. What you got, Rick? What you think?
I don't have much. I'm still kind of just sifting. I was appreciative of what Joe said about the level of engagement we need to have with this, and I'm going to kind of process that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have anything particular.
Okay, no problem.
I don't have much. I apologize. I don't have it fresh in my mind, so I need to freshen up. I do think there's a challenge as you go from the global to the specific.
Mm-hmm.
Strategically, you could say all these things are important and we all agree in motherhood and apple pie. One of my questions, I have to articulate it better, is how does that translate into, let's say, action steps in the next year, 18 months? And I don't know how that works. I'll be going through that again with those kinds of questions in mind, or suggestions on how maybe it might work, but I don't have a good piece of feedback at the moment.
So you have more of like a implementation, a tracking, a process.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
you want to see more information on that.
Some type of bridge towards operational priorities. And it may be in there. I just need to go back and reread it and see.
I will say a note on that. One addition to the updated plan was a metrics section. So we
Okay.
really can see that we actually are making
Great.
that we are making progress for the plan. But that's a good thing to note, like how are we actually reaching these very big goals?
Kathy, any thoughts?
Geez,
Oh, Michelle's fine, but
I have to pass. I mean, I everything that you guys are saying makes a lot of sense to me. I don't think I'm in a position to add or detract from any of that. Believe me, if I ever am allowed to be a member of this team, then I'll probably work a little, definitely work hard to be a contributor and mostly as support because, like I said, you guys seem to have vast knowledge and experience and I'm glad to just support that.
No problem. And we can come full circle, time allowing, we can go back around if there's any ideas that the light goes off. I had a few. And it's that my primary was along the lines of tracking and implementation and operationalizing these projects and these, you know, what do you call them? Projects, I guess. I've seen various trackers and I can do more homework, but I would love to see somehow in real time, whenever I click on this link to the city's sustainability plan, and we see all these initiatives and projects. I've seen it as simple as sort of a, how would I phrase this? Like a light system, like a stoplight system, like red is we're behind. Black's maybe not yet started or and it's in the works. Or yellow in progress and green is completed or on time or we're doing what we need to do.
We do have that.
Great. Well, you were mentioning that.
Yes.
I think you beat me to my point. So that's currently in there or it's being
So
implemented?
it's on the website. If you go to the sustainability section, I can pull it up here too.
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
You can go under any of our projects and see if it's started or completed or not.
Okay.
Oops.
While she's pulling that up, in lieu of time, I didn't see anything about kind of multimodal transportation. I know we've talked about at this commission applying for, or creating or applying for an e-bike rebate program. Maybe that's just been me saying it a lot. But I would love to add that somewhere as a line item, maybe under transportation, to encourage the city to establish an e-bike rebate program like we see in Denver and Longmont and other cities across the Front Range, because I'm particularly interested in transportation and mobility. Under natural environment, we just heard from Jeremiah applying for the turf replacement program grant funding. I don't know if we can add specifics like that to this. I don't know where else we'd put it. I'll stop there. I've got other metrics I'd like to maybe see implemented into the plan and actually listed out. If the city wants to commit themselves to hard numbers like that. But I can send those in an email to the group and we can hash out what those numbers are. So I'll pass it to Mel or Matt.
For turf replacement, can you be a little more specific? Just turf replacement projects in general, because we are doing the Resource Central in 2023. So I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
I just want to make sure that that was that House Bill 1151, that applying for that grant is in the 2023 plan, revised plan. And I would honestly, I'd love to write a letter of encouragement to council with the letter, the letter having commission's backing. Having heard from Jeremiah now. I'll stop there. Matthew?
Yeah, so I think one thing I thought of while reviewing this is that there's a lot of initiatives at Broken T.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the name of it, Broken T.
Golf course.
But there's also, I didn't see any references to sustainability efforts at Pirates Cove, which is another really big resource. And there's a lot of interesting things other cities are doing at water parks that help make them more sustainable, whether it's how they heat the water, if the water's heated, what chemicals they can use in the water. And so I don't know how specifically we want to get with that kind of stuff, but I did think that Pirates Cove is a really big asset that our city has and a place where we actually have a lot more control than in some of these other areas. And then the same thoughts were around, a lot of it was around, at the golf course, we can replace Kentucky bluegrass with more sustainable grasses. And I think there's an opportunity for us too to have a point of view around city spaces as well. So like medians that are along Broadway or things like that, where whether it's just replacing the turf ourselves or participating in this Resource Central program where we could potentially get one of those boxes that has wildflowers. Or I think there's just some pieces in there. It does mention parks, but it's really super high level. And I think there's a ton of stuff we could do as a city within the spaces we actually control. So
I guess just expanding that more broadly.
That's great. Councilman, any thoughts right now?
Well, I really like the e-bike idea and all, but I think I would want to maybe expand that a little to the, I don't know, I actually just got an e-bike ago. I love it, but I haven't really ridden it anywhere. I mean, I've ridden it around, but I'm afraid to lock it up. I don't, I don't quite have the like, I don't know if there's a secure bike facility, stuff like that to where.
Yeah, bike
Make
fence is
this-
high.
Yeah, we have bike racks, but are they, within shot of video cameras, it's well lit and that kind of, like, I wanted to ride it tonight even, but I was just nervous about parking it around this building. It's fairly high crime area, so I think those things all need to be thought of together. If we want to inspire people to actually ride their
Absolutely.
e-bikes, then we need to make sure they're good solid places to lock them up.
Yeah, I think we can definitely expand that conversation. Mike, how do you do all that? How do you lock your bike?
I worry.
Uh-huh. A little stressor.
Security is a big issue, and the other issue is, and this could be my fault, the rules of the road. Riding an e-bike's a lot of fun, but we get in the way of bicyclists, and we get in the way of cars, and we get in the way of pedestrians, and I don't know what the rules are. And anything that Englewood could do, to promote them, but also in terms of safety and etiquette and clarifying, this is what you should do. And then, for example, am I allowed to ride on a sidewalk? I do. I can. No one's stopping me, but I don't know if I should be doing that.
Sure. Legality of it.
Just give me the rule book. I'll follow the rules. So I think safety is probably financial safety. I don't want my bike ripped off.
Yeah.
It is a big deal because
It is.
they're very valuable. And then if we get a whole bunch of e-bikes bombing around Englewood, let's not kill each other,
Right.
because Denver's got the problem with scooters right now,
That's the truth.
and they're great. Everybody's using them, but I don't know if there's any rules of the road or if anybody's following. So that's just something to think about, that it is about sustainability. I want to sustain my e-bike, and I want to be able to, I'd love to use it more, but where would I park it? Where do I tie it up?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Theft was one of the biggest, I was in an e-bike webinar, and theft was one of the biggest challenges for all the people in the pilot program, actually, for all the communities that did it. I was like, ooh, because they're pricey little puppies, that's for sure.
Well, if we can get out ahead of that and say, okay, if we're gonna launch an e-bike rebate program, let's make sure we have, a secure facility. I don't know what it would look like, but at the Civic Center,
Yeah.
one on, somewhere on the, 3400 block of downtown, 3 or 4 of them maybe around town in common places where people know I can get out and I know my bike's gonna be
Right.
safe-ish. There's no guarantee, right?
Right.
But I mean, you could have like a parking meter where you put 2 quarters in it and it really locks the bike down for 2 hours. Because if I knew where those places were, it might affect my shopping patterns.
Sure.
That's true, that's
Yeah,
a great
true.
point.
It's like,
How we get into economic resilience.
Yeah.
Love it. To be continued. Sounds like
Yep.
there's some interest here. We can flesh this out a bit more. I know there's also professional groups we could have come educate us. I think Bicycle Colorado is a great group. They do a lot of lobbying down at the state legislature too. Jessica, anything on your mind? I'll toss it online. Cara, Rachel, Christine, I think we lost our guests, but Rachel, what's up?
I'll echo that. I definitely like making, focusing on Englewood just being more like bicycle friendly in general. I'm not going to say bike lanes, but bike lanes. And just a side note, while you guys were having that conversation, I don't know if you ever looked into RTD, but they have like bike lockers. So that could be a potential partnership to try to encourage commuting.
They have some here, I think, but I don't know. Oh, are they not? I think you had to get a key or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to it's a rental program, but
Oh,
something like that could maybe work.
I would love, yeah, and we can flesh this conversation out at a later date, but I don't want costs for safe storage to be a barrier for someone potentially getting an e-bike and taking a car off the road. But yeah, I think we can learn from Denver and flesh more out in this video. anyway, that's an area of interest, sounds like. Christine, I'll quit talking. What you got? You sent your edits over to me and Mel. Let me pull those up.
Yeah, sorry, I wish I could have sent them sooner, but I love all the ideas so far. I have just a handful of ideas on each topic, but most of what I dove into was the built environment section and the energy section. But I liked what you guys were saying about more safe bike infrastructure, and in particular, it would be nice if the city could do a study project that would involve the public, kind of a visioning process to get a pathway through city center that would connect the Little Dry Creek, where it just kind of dead ends on Bannock, and connect that into the plat and the RTD lot. Because right now, you kind of have to weave your way through a whole bunch of different parking lots and side streets. So if we're redoing city center anyway, would be nice to have a greenway or a walking, biking path straight through there. Let's see, on air quality, that seems like a shorter section in general, but it seemed like we could be a little more specific on indoor air quality, since we're learning more about that and how important it is. Maybe sending out some education about the new federal tax credits for induction stoves, or some education about getting some proper ventilation around gas stoves, etc., to get at the pollution angle, and the childhood asthma rates. Then for the built environment and the energy one, I think my biggest comment overall for the whole plan is that it doesn't really seem very clear to me what the difference between those two is, because there's so much overlap in the projects, especially around energy efficiency. So maybe we could better define what goes in which category. One idea could be, if it has an energy component, we put it in the energy category. If it doesn't, it stays in built environment and infrastructure. I don't know, but right now it's kind of, some projects are in one or the other or both. One of those that seems to be in both is about that residential E3 program, the grant program that gives about a dozen homeowners a year grant funds to make their homes more energy efficient. And that was one where I was hoping we could hone in and get some ideas for improving it, because we have a ton of new money from the federal government, from the Inflation Reduction Act for weatherization, and from the state. So it seems like maybe we could put those funds to better use and take the federal and state money instead and put it to that. And so perhaps we could brainstorm some ways where we could fill a gap rather than just duplicating others' efforts.
Right.
And one place could be on rentals, because if you're a renter, you can't get the weatherization funds. And if you're a landlord, you also can't get the city's grants. And it seems like renters in general are more likely to be low income than homeowners. So maybe redirecting some of those funds towards rentals could be a place to look, with various guidelines and guardrails.
Love that idea.
Let's see. More on the built environment. I thought it would be interesting to look at that one, investigate EV ready, PV ready, and electric ready, to find out what exactly staff is thinking of proposing to city council, hopefully in time for us to review it, because they're supposed to present it to city council early 2023. They said first quarter 2023. And it'd be nice to look at that and see if we have suggestions for making it better, if it seems sufficiently strong, because they are purposely updating it before the state deadline kicks in, where the state's requirements would come. And so I want to make sure that we're not far undercutting what we could be doing. And then the next one was about energy efficiency in the building code, and kind of along similar lines, at least what the building department presented to council, it seemed like they were just planning to adopt the new base code and not make it more energy efficient. It is a little more energy efficient than the last one as it is, but I was under the impression that council wanted something more than just the bare minimum in the code. So that those two, I think, were maybe just questions that we could ask as a sustainability commission, and maybe get some updates from the building department, or have them come present to us at some point, but hopefully enough time for us to make an impact. Okay, one last thing. There's the action item for study and pursue decentralized solar garden for city property and low-income households. And it seems like that could be more impactful if we split it in half and have one part, say, install solar systems on to serve city properties. And then perhaps for the other one, connect more low-income households with no-cost solar from nonprofit partners. And there I was thinking of grid alternatives, which specifically puts no-cost solar on low-income households. So that might be more impactful than a solar garden, which has so many limitations from Excel and doesn't necessarily add to the renewables. That's it. Thanks for indulging my suggestions.
Thanks, Christine. That was thorough as always. And would it be okay if we sent, Christine, what Christine sent to us, to the whole group? I'd like everybody to see her recommendations. And I think if we can all sort of, we don't have to be as exhaustive as Christine per se. Christine is incredible. But sort of put together a bulleted list of some of our feedback and get that to Mel within the next week or two. I think that's the goal. And then Mel will we'll put it on Mel a little bit to, as if we don't keep you busy enough, to put together a line item memo, a couple paragraphs of what we want to see changed, and send that to city for consideration. Mike.
Christine got me thinking, remembering something. Would it be okay, Mel, if we sent maybe concrete ideas or examples? So we're going from the conceptual, the strategic to, hey, why don't we do this? Can we send that to you too? Because I don't know, again, it's food for thought. I mean, it's not, the city needs to do this. But I've got a couple ideas I'd just like to throw out there through the Sustainability Commission. And I hope it would be presented in a way of, this is some of our thinking on the sustain. It's not a requirement. We're not telling city council what to do, but I won't bore you with it now. But Christine jogged my memory on a couple ideas when I went through it the first time. So if we could throw that at you too, and whether you think it's a footnote or
I would say yes, but also
just an idea.
to know on kind of like what you would like to see in the memo. If it could just be like, these are ideas that we have, or if it has to be kind of these concrete, like this is what should be added or edited.
Well, we had after Mel and you guys had all gone through and kind of developed the sustainability plan last year, added a whole lot to it. There was a sense on council that, okay, this is maybe, can we have like, almost like a stretch goals and kind of main priorities. I think if we could split it into those categories, that's really helpful.
Sure.
I think this is something I see, particularly with the sustainable, there's always more initiatives we could add on there.
Right.
We could fill this, but we're not going to get to them all. So the issue is prioritizing. What are the things that we want to bubble to the surface? And I like keeping those because I think we did end up keeping a section that's kind of, I don't know.
The projects in development.
Projects in development. Keep those on there so that we can move those, into the main thrust of the thing when we're ready for them, those kind of things. But I would really like a focus list saying these are the things that we really want to accomplish this next year.
And
toward the end of our document is this is all of our encompassed feedback, but like full. This is top of mind for the Sustainability Commission.
Yeah, I was just gonna support that, because I always struggle when I hear let's limit what comes out, because I think what's extraordinary about this group is the ideas that they have. And just having an opportunity to get all those ideas bulletproof like that with hard examples, just say, this is what you're focusing on now, but here's some, food for thought to review, and maybe start looking at choosing to lift these up later, rather than limiting. I mean, I only as not as a member, but as a citizen listening to these guys, I would love for council who makes the ultimate choices to hear all of these incredible ideas, rather than you guys saying, no, don't give us too much. Don't presume.
No, and I don't want, I'm not suggesting that, but because we have to do this too, right? At our city council retreat, we're gonna go through and say, okay, here's, 150 things across 8 departments and 8 goals and 9, I don't know how many different things we got, but these are all the things we're gonna try to accomplish. We'll go through, we usually go through and put a little sticker by our top priorities in each of the different categories. But if you guys can come to us with things in a priority order, then that I think that's really helpful for us.
And I'll just add that I completely agree with Joe, especially considering that this is a 2022 to 2025 plan. This isn't beyond that. And when we add a lot of stuff to it, it's almost impossible to reach all those things. We're making a plan that just isn't even feasible. So I completely agree. We need to find stuff that we can do that's high impact, that has key prioritization for it too. Because again, I'm part-time, so how much can I do it?
One of the things that gets everybody really excited, like the e-bike thing, it gets me excited. I don't know if it gets the rest of you excited.
I can't afford an e-bike, so I'd love to get excited.
But that's why we want to get a rebate program. The turf replacement, we're excited about that. I think there are a number of things like, okay, you can get a lot done if you're excited about the things that you're going to get done, And I think, the one thing that Christine said that really jumped out at me was, how can we improve our energy efficiency grant program? Because it's a great program. And it's helped a lot of people. But it's got some limitations in that you have to hire your own contractors. There are a list of things you can work on, but I think it does need to be kind of hands off from staff from that perspective. But I think the program could be improved significantly. That's one that I think is pretty exciting, especially if there are more funds that could be put into the program so we could reach a larger number of people.
I will say Christine and I met with Nancy, this is like months and months and months ago, to talk about the E3 program. There are some limitations, just like legal wise, of what you can and can't suggest. So there is room for growth for sure, but there also are parameters that the E3 program does have to follow.
I came up with a couple things. With the, I'll call it the demise, I know that's not the right word, but without having a single carrier program, and that is in a bullet point here, what is the council anticipating a follow-up to that, or is it gonna, what's gonna go on with that? Is that something where we can, suggest something? Where's it at, Joe? Do you?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, the single carrier program for waste.
Oh,
single
okay,
hauler.
right.
Which is in
Single
here
hauler,
as
got
a
it.
bullet point, as in, I think it's under, if council chooses a single hauler implementation system.
We've pretty much killed that. So
Right.
that one, that's off the table. I think, I think this latest thing where waste management moved to street only pickup, that was a bummer for me because I like alley pickup, but I think that kind of thing, if it was going to be the case that all the waste haulers moved to street only, then I would want to revisit that, because that was the deal killer, and the reason we didn't move forward. That was the biggest price driver. Is we required in our RFP that the haulers picked up in both alleys and streets, and I think we could get a serious reduction in price over what people are getting now. if it was, I just thought there wasn't the support from the citizens to move to street only. That would have been a much cheaper way to go. But for now, it's killed.
Okay, so it's just not gonna be in here, we'll just, okay. The other thing I had to do with clean and connected transportation. I'm new to this committee, so I don't know what was done here though. But there is nothing in here that addresses what I would consider people with needs of having efficient transportation to get to and from the city, from the outskirts of the city, i.e. This was an idea I threw out in Elevate when we had the classes, the idea of having a trolley that went beyond the central city and actually had a schedule that traveled out through neighborhoods so that people could get access and come into town more easily. Is that anything that could be put in there, or is it anything that people are interested in doing? It's another idea, obviously, it's not.
I hate to throw cold water on any idea, but I like the idea of I like the e-bike idea as a way of getting people into town better than a public, like a extension of the trolley, because the trolley I think is still pretty poorly utilized for what we have now. I think it'd be hard to justify expanding it financially when it's not getting hardly any ridership at all. I don't know how sustainable it is in itself right now. It's subsidized by RTD too, so that's helpful. But I think we do need to think about that transportation piece, but more along. I would tend to think more along the lines of bikeability and walkability.
Okay, and I'm just looking at it more from the standpoint of affordability.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, they're
Yes.
expensive.
And I was
even
going to
with
chime in on that, is that I had to just upgrade my vision so that I could still drive at night. And eventually, as I age, anciently, if I need to, I'm not gonna, I own my house. I love it. I mean, it's simple and it's simply everything, but your concept immediately sparked is, having a system that runs through the city where someone like myself, if I needed to, or even if I didn't need to, even if I just wanted to grab it as it's coming by to head to the grocery store and come back, where I'm not going to get in a car. But I also hear you. I mean, that sounded excellent to me. But I also hear you. How does that get supported? We have a lot of streets. We're only a 6 mile square city, but that's a lot of driving for streets to provide the type of thing that you're talking about, that I'd be going, hey, that's great. But that is a dilemma, but it sounds like a worthy thought.
I think it's something to percolate on, because my thought sometimes that goes through my mind is, I don't know what it is. It's maybe a couple $100,000 a year that we spend on the trolley, 200 or 300, I don't know what it is. And then RTD's portion. What could you get done with that 200,000 or 300,000?
Yeah.
If you think of an alternative,
Thank
take those, those bike rebates and increase them to, income driven, you get your whole e-bike paid for, if we were gonna, provide a much more robust e-bike rebate program. Get a lot of bikes bought for
Some shifting of resources a little bit.
Or could you reroute the trolley? Instead of making it go this way, make it go this way. You're gonna spend the same money on fuel,
right,
but nobody's riding it this way. Find another route,
And the trolley can at least go through snow. I mean, e-bikes.
Right.
I'm thinking of when I could drive, riding a bike through the
Be
snow,
cold
through
tonight.
the ice.
Yeah.
You're Coloradan, you got it.
I used to be, you understand, it's really ridiculous getting old. I resent it, because I am an outdoors person, I'm a hiker, it's like all of a sudden I get a little bit cold, it's like, oh my God, this is torture.
Matthew, one final thought here.
Yeah, sorry. So as far as the single hauler, it sounds like that is not moving forward, but then is there something else that we could or should have in this plan to help make that situation better? So for example, like when you walk around, you see, I have 2 dogs, so I'm always walking, and I see more and more unlicensed trash companies. Like every day I see a different company that isn't on our list of approved providers. And so it does feel like if we're concerned about trash truck traffic through our cities and the tear they have on our street. There may be something we could ask the city to do to clarify enforcement of that and like forcing these companies to get permitted, or because they're essentially making it more expensive for everybody else, the fewer customers the big companies can get. And so, and it's also creating more pollution. So I don't know if there's some other trash aspect that we should put in here if there's not single hauler.
Could there be one of those odd and haulers that can be contracted to just serve alleys?
That is a whole can of
Yeah,
worms.
it's a whole good one that we can get into, but might table the single hauler conversation for tonight. But did you note Matthew's general question? Well, we've got 9 minutes, give or take a few. I want to do a quick year in review, if that's okay with you guys. I don't have any fancy presentation, but I'm gonna make y'all listen to me just for a few minutes. It's been an honor serving as the chair this last year. It's been so fun. There's just so much energy, and you know, we had half of the commission was new essentially in February of 2022, and I think after February, when Mike and I kind of had a post-meeting huddle, you know, we said, oh boy, there's a lot of energy. There's 9 or 10 areas, some subject matter that we need to really hone in, and I think we made a lot of progress. But I know I came into 2022 hoping to lead this commission, at least find some momentum, get our footing under us, find some continuity and rhythm month to month, and kind of get to know each other. You know, we're serving multi-year terms. And I'm just excited about all the institutional knowledge on this commission, y'all's willingness to engage, and just, to be cheesy, your sheer desire to see a more sustainable Inglewood. But I really wanted this place to be this commission to be a space for productive discourse and dialogue, where we not only welcome but encourage dissenting opinions, place for the public to join and engage. We've seen an uptick in public participation this year from the previous years when we were keeping Inglewood beautiful, and that's fantastic. I know Mel has some stats on that. I wanted this to be a place where there's continued learning is a two-way street, where we're constantly learning. We're allowing that to percolate out into the general public, and they're constantly learning, where we can be a resource for that. So a lot was accomplished this year. We made progress on streamlining our efficiencies, which we can touch on in a few minutes, but ultimately we found momentum. And I want to quickly thank Mel, being a new addition this last year. She's been absolutely fantastic. Get Mel full-time, my campaign. Thank you to Councilman Anderson and Tim, who was on earlier, just for their continued guidance in general and keeping us on the right track. So thank you guys, genuinely. Recap, 2022, February, we hit the ground running. We swore new members in, and we had a 3-hour meeting on the nitty-gritty of the city's new sustainability plan. That was a great start. Really kind of was baptism by fire, if you will. We immediately jumped into rewriting our bylaws to sort of have a more clean cut from where we were as Inglewood Beautiful, Keep Inglewood Beautiful. We identified short and long-term sustainability goals, not only for the commission, but then we recommended that out to the city. We quickly identified via a survey, if y'all recall, you know, how do we channel this? There's so much interest and knowledge. What are our top priorities as a commission? And how do we translate that out to educate not only the public, but advise city council appropriately? We created a sustainable landscape subcommittee in our bylaw work, which is I believe is met twice. I met with Cara recently this last 2 weeks to talk about some work there. I'd love to get that out, time permitting, or via email. We added an alternate member. We've had Matthew with us for a number of months now. It's been a fantastic addition to the discourse here, and I'm excited for Matthew to become a full member in 2023. I'm personally excited about that. So thank you, Matthew. Once we identified our priorities, we acted on them. We advised the city on their water plan. We toured Charles Allen Water Facility. We heard from Steve Simon and Stephanie Ellis. They came to educate us on water conservation, resource conservation, all things water, because that was determined to be a priority. just a few examples of how we identified priorities and then immediately acted on those. What else? We continued our ongoing efforts around electrification by appointing Christine Brinker to be our representative for the Go EV Action Plan. And then Mel's been instrumental in presenting that to council and carrying our voice. And so I think that's work in progress there. We continued the city's leaf litter event and the household hazardous waste. I had a blast at household hazardous waste with a couple of y'all. I missed the leaf recycling event, but next year. And lastly, we continued our speaker series that we started back in 2021, really. And I talked on a couple of the people we've heard from, but that just shows our desire to continue to grow and learn and sort of be a resource and be a hub of knowledge for Inglewood. I think that's beautiful. I think we can now really pivot in 2023 and start really developing some more robust public education resources and put more emphasis on that. That's where I'd like to see some of our time and effort put in 2023. Process-wise, you know, we figured out over the last few months, how can we be effective? And that's coming together as a group, hashing out on various topics and writing memos or recommendation letters to city council. And we've seen them act on that from this commission. And that's a great starting point. I don't remember how often that was done under Keep Inglewood Beautiful. No disrespect to people who've served on that commission for years, but I just have really seen some good steps taken over the last 10 months. So with that, I think we can still continue to refine our processes. Communication was touched on earlier. How can we streamline internal communication, external communications? How can we continue to improve our name ID in the city? We're a new commission. I want to continue to get the commission outward facing, block party, neighborhood newsletter, the quarterly magazine. I think there are opportunities that we can really lean into in 2023. So I'll kind of shut up, but that's my soapbox. I think we got a lot done. We found momentum. We established a foundation for us to stand on. And I'm proud of the work that we got done. And there's a lot more on the horizon, but I'll open it up for any comments here. That's really all I've got. But I just want to thank you guys for figuring this out together, right? You know, starting a new commission is not easy. And especially when we have, you know, a wide breadth of topics to take on. So, yes.
I may never qualify to become a member because I can't imagine you being at the level of some of you guys, but would it be at all acceptable to have an annoying groupie?
This is always open to the public, always, always, always.
So if I just hang out and learn?
Absolutely.
Okay. Or is that just a rude thing to ask because it forces you to say, yes, of course you can. Oh my gosh, she's gonna.
I would hope to see your face, Kathy, at every meeting going forward. And not only do I want to improve, expand public attendance and input at this commission, but also, you know, how can we sort of each of us champion something that we're passionate about? How can, you know, you saw Rick and Mike really take lead on water plant edits. You've seen Christine take lead on electrification. You've seen Cara take lead on the Sustainable Landscape Subcommittee. You know, how can we each sort of light a fire and kind of carry the torch for any of these 9 or 10 areas in the sustainability plan? And that extends out to the public too. Please, you have more expertise than you know. Bring that to this group, even if it's just an interested voice from the public. That's what I want this space to be.
This is a fascinating, creative, excellent, powerful group, and it's just nice to get that energy.
Everyone,
Absorb that.
I'll second your comment about ad hoc / subcommittee. I think that's a good growth plan for us in terms of how we move forward. You only get so much done in an hour and a half or an hour. And typically when we come in on these, we're coming in at an embryonic stage on this kind of stuff. And if people would step aside and do an extra meeting or two at a coffee shop or something to kind of shake out things so that when they come, you know, then we can make decisions because we've kind of had some more think time on it. I think it's great that we exchange ideas. I think that's where the strength of this group is. And I think the more we do that in and outside of this group, as we move forward, the more effective we're going to be.
Yeah.
I do want to just flag any ad hoc group do have to be only 2 people though, just to make sure of that.
But a subcommittee would be different, is that correct?
Subcommittee would be different, but you have to make every single meeting public and documented too, so.
Well, we met as a study group then, for the record, I guess. Me and Cara, we had a conversation.
Well, 2 people is totally fine.
Okay, and I want to continue to do that. I know there've been several ideas talked about. I know Mike and I connected today, and he had some fantastic ideas of how we can improve our process. And if there's questions that come up, between our once a month for an hour and a half, maybe 2-hour meeting, I'd love a place I'd love a Dropbox sort of idea. And I know we've talked about it in the past. How can Unengaged or the sustainability website, how can we, man, I have a question that, I talked to Kathy. We had a great question about, some development downtown. I want some answers from the city on that. Boom, put it in a question box. And then we can have a few minutes each month to discuss, questions and concerns from the public or from within this commission. I can ideate all day. It is 7:01, but I just wanted to communicate that to you guys. I think we had a really productive year and I'm thankful for you all and proud of this commission. I think there's a lot of good that we can do and there's a lot on the horizon. So
Amen.
I'll
I want
stop.
to thank Logan. He's done a heck of a job.
Thank you, Rachel. That's all I've got for now. I have more thoughts on processes going forward. I'm happy to put that in an email to Mel to distribute to the group and we can hash that out going into the new year. But I wanted to put a cap on 2022. That's all I wanted to do there. Let's see. And Cara and I did have a great conversation about the sustainable landscape subcommittee. Yes, just 2 subcommittee. You can actually call it that. I don't know. I put in an email to Mel. I would love, maybe we can put that out via email to the group, just to keep everybody up to speed about what we talked about. With that, I think we're toward the end of our agenda. I do want to give a moment for the public, and I'll read it verbatim. The public forum part of this agenda is an opportunity for the public to address the commission regarding items not on the agenda. Commissioners can ask questions for clarification, but there will not be any extended dialogue. Presentations by the public will be limited to 3 minutes. So with that, I believe Kathy's our only member of the public this evening. We lost one, but any thoughts or comments, final comments from you this evening? Thanks for being here.
Oh, well, sure. No, like I said, I'm very enthusiastic about this committee and everything that's going on. I get, when I hear about garden in the box, the first thing I think of is let's make sure we do weeding and not chemical I'm worried about removing turf and just spreading miles of chemicals to destroy what's there and then put something new on it. But then the only other thing that I was thinking of was what I also presented to council in an email was since we're redeveloping, going to be looking at redeveloping the city center again in a whole new light, and all of that is public property. Is there any opportunity to, let's say, take a portion of this, it's a large amount of property, to maybe take a portion of it, donate it to Habitat for Humanity to build some of their homes on it in our city, or take a portion of some of that vast public property that they're going to be redeveloping and put a solar garden on it, a solar farm that actually self-produces the electricity to charge 2 to 4 vehicles. And I realize it takes a lot of solar panels to produce energy and also then the batteries to store it. So that would take I don't know how much land it would take or what the cost would be, but to somehow begin, I don't want to depend on making Xcel the richest company in the world. I really want to be able to afford electricity. So, starting to be able to produce our own as a city, to me is, I think every city should begin to start producing their own, because there's no way we're going to get a nationwide or statewide network. What's that? The grid, solar or wind anytime soon in the next few decades. So it needs to start happening
Start locally.
from cities. Just thoughts, nothing like what you guys have,
Can I
but
add to that?
please.
Why doesn't Englewood do an off-grid solar farm as an emergency backup for police in this community? We learned it in Puerto Rico. When you have a centralized system, everything went down. The heroes of the Puerto Rican hurricanes were the little fire departments out in the villages that had some solar batteries and some solar panels.
Wow.
Why don't we have it, not an Excel centric, an off-grid emergency backup system, and let's back up the police department?
What he said.
That should be legal.
Yes.
And to me, you're hitting a lot of birds with one stone. Community safety, I'll bet you the police would love that idea. And you could have solar batteries over there, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll try to put that into some of my stuff, but she hit the nail on the head with, don't hitch all your horses to Excel
Oh,
Energy.
please, no.
Don't do that.
And do his thing before mine.
Thank you very good.
If nothing else, I don't think I have any final thoughts. We can go judge some Christmas lights for a little bit. Who's joining?
I was told I can't go.
But I'm not judging.
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Shame, shame. And Rachel, I cannot believe you're not.
I really wanted to go, but I'm not feeling well and I didn't want to
Thank
be a
you.
petri dish for everyone.
You are the most tenured Christmas light judge, Rachel, but we will do it in your honor.
Madeline's
Okay.
good. She's got it.
No other comments, guys. I'll entertain a motion to, don't have to motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Okay,
Great.
perfect. Thanks all.
Jeez.
Thank you.
It's happened.
Really good.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Cara.
Yeah, I met with someone from City Clerk. They were updating on just processes and she was like, stop having the motion. We're starting to stop. I was like, okay.
It's a little problem, but
What do I do?
follow this new rule.
Everyone from
Yeah.
Pizza, Vanessa is gonna be our driver,
Yay.
right?
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Love it. You have big shoes to fill in, Madeline.
I know.
You'll do just fine.
No,
How's Madeline
everything's
doing? Have you-
unlocked, right? I can
Yeah,
get.
we heard it, Madeline.
We'll let you out. I loved your thinking, by the way. 'Cause
Oh.
Madeline and baby are doing really well.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. No, seriously.
Excel's trying to protect their business.
They're gonna profit a lot. Not gonna be able to afford any electricity.
Just over a month.
Oh, I'm so.
On everything.
I bet she's not sleeping
Then they
yet.
put an ad